Kenya dismisses claims by Byron who? Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us, and welcome to Business Insight. Members of county assemblies have been urged to resist any attempt by political forces to coerce them into passing the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi is warning that any attempt to influence debate could affect the outcome of the referendum drive. Mudavadi's sentiments were echoed by a section of the clergy who called on MCAs to engage in a sober debate on the Constitutional Amendment Bill.
Musalia Mudavadi has argued that if members of the County Assembly are forced to pass the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, the referendum could be dead on arrival.
The BBI should never be seen or marketed as a deal between two leaders. Now that it has been revised, it is now more palatable. It is now a document that meets a certain threshold in terms of building consensus.
Mudavadi says civic education should be embraced to have the public understand the contents of the report.
I urge the counties to look at it objectively so that we build consensus, because ultimately it is the vote that will determine whether it passes or not. All right? So we are now on a journey. But if the county governments are forced to endorse it, that could jeopardize the referendum process.
A section of the clergy is siding with Mudavadi, calling for sobriety among ward representatives and put the interests of Kenyans first and avoid being lured by 5% of ward allocation bait.
It is good to note that the stand of the church remains the same. Our views were not and have not been included in the document. Until all Kenyans feel included in the BBI, the BBI will remain a document and not a guide.
The calls coming even as ODM leader Raila Odinga moved toward the faithful to support the ongoing clamor for constitutional review.
I'm here to appeal to you to support the BBI and its efforts to ensure corruption ceases to be a way of life in Kenya.
The ongoing constitutional review has split political opinion, with a section of the political class alleging it is crafted to stack the odds against some of the leaders ahead of the 2022 contest.
Kama ako na njama ya kuondoka kwa ile mpango wa kuwa na rais, aondoke polepole, awache kutafuta vijisababu.
Nafikiri tunaanza njia mbaya. Let us not allow ourselves to be used. Tusikubali kutumiwa na mwanasiasa yoyote.
Meanwhile, the Orange Democratic Movement has thrown its weight behind Mutua Katuku for the Machakos senatorial by-election. The decision by the ODM party comes amid growing rifts in the NASA coalition. Finally, Kieni MP Kanini Kega has dismissed claims by a section of Mount Kenya leaders they have been blocked out of the Saturday's meeting convened by the president. The Kieni legislator says Sagana meeting is an invite only for leaders allied to the president.
That during that meeting, of course, there are people who are complaining that they have not been called. I mean, they have not been invited. This function is on invitation only, and it is people who subscribe to the doctrine of His Excellency the President, who has categorically said that we want to work between now and 2022.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Elsewhere, county assemblies have begun putting in place mechanisms to debate and consider the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. The bill, which proposes a raft of changes to the Constitution, requires the support of at least 24 county assemblies. CI County Assembly says it expects to debate and dispense with the bill as early as Wednesday next week.
All eyes are on county assemblies as the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 gravitates towards the next hurdle.
As an assembly, we made that clear today that we are desirous to expedite the consideration to ensure that we revert back to our usual business. There is a notice in the Daily Nation and Standard today calling upon the CR people in their respective sub-counties to turn up on Tuesday, the 2nd of February, to give us their views.
And as ward representatives prepare to have their say on the proposed piece of legislation, Siaya County Governor Konera Sanga says Kenyans must strive to protect the gains made so far in the Building Bridges initiative. The BBI, which enjoys a wide support in Siaya County, is expected to sail through the county assembly when the bill is tabled and debated on next week. Meanwhile, Siaya Governor says his government is keen on building long-lasting structures that will ensure equal service delivery to all.
There is somebody who did it, but it is important that for you to understand that the procurement system in Siaya is one of the best, right? So if I can leave that software so that the Siaya people know how to do their tenders and they get their tenders in a fair manner, so be it. Does that require brick and mortar?
Rasanga spoke on Thursday where he enumerated some of his achievements in the State of the County address. Achola Simon, reporting for Channel 1 News from Siaya County.
The Ministry of Education is working with the Directorate of Criminal Investigation to create a database of learners engaging in gross violations at schools following rising cases of arson and indiscipline. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha revealing plans to build a record of learners with cases of discipline, also toyed with the idea of a return of corporal punishment to curb indiscipline. Emily K. Bede with details.
The last week has seen an increase in fire outbreaks believed to be arson attacks, the latest case being reported at Kituro High School in Baringo, when a second dormitory went up in flames in the wee hours of Thursday morning. It is perhaps the return of arson cases in school that has seen the Ministry of Education opt to take action and identify the culprits. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, who was in Kisii, revealed the government was in the process of consolidating the list of learners with indiscipline cases.
We are in communication now with the Director of Criminal Investigation to ensure that we will, if we suspect, go to a school at random and do blood tests of the children. And if we find that they are under substance abuse, action will be taken so that we don't have to wait until we do other things that will affect other children.
At the same time, Magoha hinted at the possibility of introducing stiffer measures to curb indiscipline, challenging parents and teachers to be more proactive to tame indiscipline.
If you are to ask my very frank opinion, maybe I'm living in the past, but I hope that in future, capital punishment will be reintroduced back in schools as long as it is properly used. For the female child, you shall use the hand, extended hand. For the boy child, the very well formed back side. And the stick to be used should be standardized so that the child can, the idea is to inflict a bit of pain so that the child can know this one is a no-go.
At the same time, he revealed plans to conduct spot checks in schools to curb the problem of drug abuse, even as he ordered for the immediate confiscation of sanitizers from learners.
The head teachers to inspect the children, and any child found with this must be confiscated immediately because they are not responsible enough. So this must be confiscated from the children because they can use it for two things. One, to start fires. Two, to get intoxicated and do other things.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education says it has disbursed funds for the construction and repair of school infrastructure, among other procurement needs. So far, it has released 2,000 shillings per student from the 5,000 shillings allocation for financing school projects. Elsewhere, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET wants the government to provide security training for teachers deployed in volatile regions and arm them with guns.
We are repeating this demand that in the pockets of insecurity, teachers must be trained and provided with guns, because you cannot confront a gunman with a chalk.
Acting Kuppet Secretary General Moses Thuruma said arming teachers with guns will not only scare away attackers, but will also give the tutors confidence to work in the high-risk areas.
When you take a teacher to insecurity-prone areas, that teacher will constantly live in fear. But if the gun is hanging on his back, even the bandit will know that that guy is no go zone. And they will take the second thought before they make mistakes.
For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Now on to matter security. Border riders with a tendency to touch motor vehicles and attack the occupant during road accidents have been put on notice. In the strongest statement yet, Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutiambai warned them against engaging in such uncouth and uncivilized manner. In addition, he says he will map out hotspots where such incidences have or are likely to occur, and a major operation will be carried out to address the problem, cautioning the riders against acts of lawlessness. The government is cautioning Somalia against dragging it into its internal affairs, dismissing claims that the Kenyan government is financing, training and harboring militia to destabilize Somalia. Government spokesman Cyrus Oguna dismissed the claims days after heavy fighting was reported in Bulahayo town between Somalia and Jubaland forces. Somalia's Ministry of Information has accused Kenya of funding the rebels. Sarafina Chieng with the details of the continued simmering tension between Kenya and its neighbor Somalia.
The diplomatic row between Kenya and Somalia continues, with the Horn of Africa nation accusing Kenya of meddling in its political affairs. Government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna has, however, refuted the claims of Kenya's involvement in the heavy fighting reported on Sunday.
Allegations by Somalia that Kenya is sponsoring and harboring militia with the objective of destabilizing Somalia are not based on any merit.
He also dismissed claims by Somalia that Kenya Defense Forces serving in the African Union mission in Somalia are engaging in illegal trade.
Why would these allegations be leveled against a force that is operating to help in terms of securing peace and stability in that country for socio-economic development?
Oguna has affirmed the country's commitment to support peace-building efforts in the region, calling on Somalia to desist from dragging Kenya into its internal wars. Oguna further said that the government, through its security agencies, has escalated efforts to contain the insecurity situation in Kapedo at the border of Baringo and Turkana counties.
The forces on the ground are going to places and locations that have been identified by intelligence, right? And I can tell you right now that most of the forces that were there, the bad elements that have got these illegal arms, firearms, most of them have been destabilized. And because of that destabilization, normalcy is slowly returning.
His assurance coming even as a section of leaders from Baringo County hailed the dusk to dawn curfew imposed by the government in Kapedo, the leaders calling on the residents to cooperate with the security agencies in the ongoing security operation.
We are supporting this initiative, we are supporting the process, and let it continue to its end when all these bandits have been eliminated.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
And the state has dropped charges against Esther Nthenya Muli, the secondary school teacher who is alleged to have been with the former Machakos Senator Boniface Kabaka when he collapsed in a city hotel last December. The prosecution said after analyzing a report from the government chemist. They could not find sufficient evidence to hold the suspect. Nthenya thrust into the limelight for being with the late senator in a city hotel the night he collapsed and ended up in an intensive care unit.
Esther Nthenya was arrested on Monday, December 7th in connection with the incident and was expected to face charges of attempted murder. The suspect was later freed without any charges being preferred against her, but was ordered to report to Kimani police station every 14 days. Vomit samples from the senator analyzed at the government chemist revealed that there were no toxins fed to the lawmaker, as had earlier been speculated. Nthenya, who appeared before Senior Principal Magistrate Daniel Nduge at the Milimani Law Courts on Thursday, was discharged and set free. The ruling was made after consideration of an application made by the Director of Public Prosecution to terminate the miscellaneous application, since samples collected did not reveal any evidence to charge the suspect. Meanwhile, blogger Dennis Itumbi has been given the green light to play a video in court to prove his claim that an alleged meeting took place to discuss an assassination plot against the deputy president. The hearing of the case has been set for the 3rd, 4th and 5th of March. Still in the corridors of justice, Wycliffe Orinda, the man who recently confessed to using controlled substances, has pleaded with the court to release him, claiming that his life is in danger. Orinda says he's currently sharing a cell with the man accused of killing 5 people in Kiamba. Orinda had earlier been charged with creating disturbance at Revlon Plaza in Nairobi. Finally, a man has been charged with the theft of 4.3 million shillings from Britam Asset Managers Limited head office in Nairobi. Charles Kadhengingo, whose case shall be mentioned on the 11th of February, has been granted a cash bail of 500,000 shillings and an alternative bond of 1 million shillings. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
You're watching Business Insight. We are live from Broadcasting House. We're taking a short break and thereafter we'll be back. Remember, we still have a lot in store for you, including why the government is rushing to finish the Thiba Dam. Stay right here.
Ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na korona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na korona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Mwaka mpya na vitu noma zaidi kwenye quickbit.co.ke. Siku ya leo tunakupa Von 4 burner gas cooker.
Oh yes, na tunakuambia ni rahisi zaidi. Enda kwenye simu yako, lipa na M-Pesa, paybill number 4032353. 4032353. Kisha enda kwenye account, ekelea kodi ni CK56, CK94, alafu amount ni 20 bob peke yake.
Alafu kumbuka utaekelea pin yako. Hivyo ndivyo utakuwa umekelea bid kwenye quickbid.co.ke. Ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwenye bei ya nini?
Chini kwa chini. Chini kwa chini.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
Is creature going to attack us today?
It wasn't an illusion. I
I'm telling Queen Dharma, I think you're too stressed. I feel that you're very much affected by Ashok's demise.
I agree with Mother, and no one can take better care of you than Mother.
Who is your father?
The King of Kaling, His Majesty Jagannath. And I'm his daughter, Princess Korvaki.
Mr. Campbell. Produce. That was supposed to be great.
Did you drink that whole bottle?
Not yet.
Do you have any idea what it's like picking up the man who calls himself your father at the police station? Hi.
Produce?
Do you really come to church with me?
Who is this friend you've been spending all this time with? Hey, Produce.
And the shopping cart.
I guess I just came to talk.
To me?
It's like I could use some of that magical happiness that you always seem to have.
Feel sorry for him?
No, I feel sorry for you.
Oh, yeah!
A second with this kid, and you realize he's just like you and me.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutajumuika na vijana wa Huruma.
Naweza eleza watu wote wenye wanaishi Nairobi kwamba urban farming ni kitu iko na ni ukulima ambayo imekubalika. 2015 Act ya Nairobi County inatupatia nguvu ya kufanya ukulima ya Nairobi. Bora ufanye ukulima kulingana na zile stakabadhi zenye zimewekwa na serikali.
Kisha tufuge nguruwe na mbuzi wa maziwa.
Kwangu nguruwe si kitu mchafu. Kwangu ukiona nguruwe kama ni chafu, mkulima ndio mchafu. Nguruwe si chafu. Ukikulisha nguruwe kwa mazingira masafi itakuwa safi sana. Maana yake inajua mahali pa kukula, mahali pa kulala na mahali pa kusaidia.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo hapa KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. You're watching Channel 1 Business Insight. Well, Kenya on Thursday recorded 99 COVID-19 infections from a sample size of 4,758 tested within the last 24 hours. The numbers translate to a 2.1% positivity rate. The Ministry of Health says 2 patients have, however, succumbed to COVID-19 related complications over the last 24 hours.
Out of the 99 cases confirmed Thursday, Nairobi recorded 57 new infections, followed by Mombasa, Kilifi and Kiambu with 6 cases each. Embu recorded 4 cases, Bungoma and Machakos 3 cases each. Additionally, the number of recoveries rose to 83,757 after 66 more patients were discharged both from home care and various health facilities. The number of fatalities resulting from COVID-19 rose to 1,753 after 2 more patients succumbed to the disease. 476 patients are currently receiving treatment in hospital, 28 of them being in the intensive care unit and 5 in the high dependency unit. Meanwhile, the Kenya Editors Guild is re-evaluating the state of journalism and media, which is at crossroads in the counties in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Editors Caucus says it is going around the counties, gathering views and recommendations from county-based scribes in a bid to come up with a post-COVID-19 policy document.
And journalism is at a crossroads as we speak. So the practitioners and the media industry and government and all stakeholders need to get together to reflect on their future and what they need to do in order for the industry to survive. I mean, the media is a significant central player in a country's governance, democracy and life. And we must do everything possible to make sure that our media does not die.
When we are still, especially shortly after lockdown, a lot of things changed to adapt the new normal, because the practice of journalism must be left to go, must be let to grow, must also be sustained.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Well, marginalized counties are set to benefit from Equalization Fund for an additional 10 years if Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill is enacted into law. The Constitution review process by the BBI seeks to lengthen the life of the Equalization Fund from 20 years to 30 years. Kevin Washira reports.
Equalization Fund was established to provide basic services to marginalized areas, to bring the quality of those services in those areas to the level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation so far as possible. The fund, however, has a sunset clause. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 has, however, proposed the extension of the timeline from the current 20 to 30 years. The Constitution of Kenya established an equalization fund into which shall be paid 0.5% of all the revenue collected by the national government each year, calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts of revenue received as approved by the National Assembly. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission has rolled out a campaign to foster trust among Kenyans and end scenarios where citizens view elections as not fair. The Commission has identified issues it says can be addressed ahead of the 2022 elections. More details in the county briefs.
NCIC has rolled out a strategy targeting various stakeholders, including journalists and bloggers, to act as peace ambassadors in order to break the cycle of violence during polls. The Commission challenged Kenyans to commit to a peaceful process in the impending elections.
Why is it that in Kenya we have to have violence in order to choose our leaders? It is not right. It is not good for the future of our children. It's not good for the future of our country. Is not good for the investment in general, is not good for the hopes of those who are prepared to make this country a nice country to live in with peace.
Niko kazini. Unaona? Lakini me as a junior staff, I cannot explain.
In the meantime, a section of residents of Rabai stormed the bulk water unit at the Coast Water Works Development Agency in Mazeras, protesting against persistent water shortage. The residents claim the authority has religiously billed them for 3 consecutive months despite the water shortage.
Idara inayohusika, tuachilieni maji, tuokoe maisha yetu na pia ugonjwa tuepuke. Manake watoto waenda skuli mikono hawaoshi. Hasa hii corona itaenea. Tupe maji. Idara ya afya asema maji yatiririke, tuoshe mikono. Yetu ni hayo tu, hatutaki mambo mengine. Tunataka maji Rabai, miezi mitatu tunkosa maji.
Elsewhere, property worth of millions of shillings was razed down when the Garissa County Assembly Chambers caught fire. The fire is said to have started at the Assembly Chambers before quickly spreading to adjacent 2-story building that housed MCA's offices. Both buildings were extensively damaged. The cause of the fire could not immediately be ascertained.
And you can see the level of destruction. We cannot conduct our business. We cannot conduct business at the chambers. We cannot conduct business as a committee work. You see, it will take it will really jeopardize our works.
Finally, a family in Maralal is in agony following the disappearance of their teen daughter who went missing 3 weeks ago. According to her kin, the Form 2 student left the house with her mobile phone, which has since been switched off. They are now pleading with anyone who may have any information on her whereabouts to report to the nearest police station and help them trace her.
Station ya Maralal. Nikasema mtoto wangu amepotea na niko na mtoto mgonjwa, mlichukua hatua gani? Na mlitraka akiwa anapita Yare. Nikaambiwa tutashughulika sipokuwa mtoto amezima simu.
Beatrice Getonyingetich, Channel 1 News.
Well, time now to have a look at the latest in the world of business. Construction work at the 20 billion shillings Diva Dam is at 47%, with completion expected in December this year. The project, which is more than 1 year behind schedule, will help stabilize water supply in the Mwea irrigation scheme, boosting rice production by more than 100,000 metric tons. Mwea irrigation scheme manager Innocent Ariemba has said the contractor Strabag International has committed to hand over the project to the state before the end of this year.
The 20 billion shilling Thiba Dam was launched in 2017 with a completion period of 3 years. However, land acquisition and budget delays have ensured the project is behind schedule by more than 12 months. The National Irrigation Authority says major works are almost complete, with diversion works currently at 84%, while the spillway is at 18%.
Tumeongezea zaidi ya hectares 800 zile tumeongezea, na tunatarajia tutafikia ile tunataka 1500, sababu kuna eneo mingi sana zimebaki ambazo hazija kuwa utilized kwa ukulima huu wa mpunga.
At completion, the dam will be 40 meters tall and 1,000 meters long, with a water holding capacity of 15 million cubic meters. Mwea Irrigation Scheme Manager Innocent Ariemba has said the project, once completed, will allow double cropping while increasing the area under irrigation from 25,000 to 35,000 acres. At completion, the dam is expected to provide water to Mwea Irrigation Scheme and ensure around-the-clock farming.
In the next cropping season, we'll be able to put into production the whole area, 1,200 acres, which already has infrastructure.
Data from the Kenya Bureau of Statistics shows that Kenya imports rice worth about 40 billion every year, largely from Pakistan, Thailand, India and Vietnam. It is estimated that with the completion of Thiba Dam, this amount will drop by more than 50% by allowing for 3 seasons of rice per year, unlike the current 1 season. Ariemba further says the authority is expanding the existing scheme with 12,000 acres of land having been put into production so far.
We are currently doing survey and design for the remaining about 2,000 acres, which we also intend to bring on board gradually.
The National Irrigation Authority is in the process of expanding rice production in the country from the current 100,000 tons to 350,000 tons, with various irrigation schemes under construction.
On to matters technology. American technology company Google has announced a $10 million package, which is approximately 1.1 billion Kenya shillings, to support Kenya's post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. The company announced that 550 million shillings of these funds will finance Kenyan startups, 330 million shillings will support small businesses, and the remaining 220 million shillings will be for charity. The announcement was made by the Google CEO Sundar Pichai during a virtual meeting with President Uhuru Kenyatta on the sidelines of a public discussion on digital transformation in Africa organized by Corporate Council on Africa.
According to a preliminary report about startup investments in Africa by Startup List Africa, Kenya was the leading destination for startup investments in Africa in 2020. To this end, Google is looking to tap into the wealth of opportunities the country offers. In a virtual meeting with President Uhuru Kenyatta on the sidelines of a public discussion on digital transformation, Google CEO Sundar Pichai announced that the tech firm was offering $10 million, which is approximately 1.1 billion shillings, to support Kenya's post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. In addition, the tech firm, which has had operations in Kenya over the last 13 years, plans to expand its Google for Startups Accelerator program this year by supporting 100,000 businesses and 15,000 developers in Kenya.
For Kenya ultimately to become one of the startup capitals of the African continent, this wouldn't have happened without the partnership of companies like yourself, who have had that faith, that trust, and that confidence in our country and in the potential that exists out there for us to have what I always call a win-win situation.
The head of state says the government is keen on expanding market opportunities for Kenyan businesses through the ongoing free trade agreement negotiations with the United States and other multilateral platforms, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area.
It's a wonderful a wonderful gift that we have and a wonderful opportunity that we have that we can expand and grow even further. And I'm really looking forward to partnering with yourself, with your team and others to see how we can ensure that we upscale and ensure that through the use of the digital economy, the digital world, we can expand our economies, our growth and opportunities for our young people.
President Kenyatta said Kenya is aggressively expanding internet connectivity across the country and investing in skills development to enable young Kenyans benefit from employment opportunities created by the digital revolution. Alan Auko, Channel 1 Business.
Well, an increased hippo population at Lake Naivasha is a feat worth your trip. Conservationists attribute the hippo calf boom of up to 400 calves to increased water levels, improved vegetation, and a peaceful environment as COVID-19 reduced visitor numbers. Tonight on the Magical Scenes, we highlight attractions around the tourist hotspot of Lake Naivasha.
Hippopotamus are interesting wildlife to observe from a distance while on tour or vacation in Naivasha, especially at this time when there is a hippo calf boom. Hoteliers along the shores of Lake Naivasha have made it convenient for visitors to watch and enjoy the after-calving season of the hippos. The hoteliers have put electric fence along the shores of the lake so that you as a visitor is safe to watch the wildlife, and in case you want to get to the waters, then a boat ride would be ideal.
We have attraction for the hippo. They come to view the hippo. They also come to view Lake Naivasha. We also have a very nice view. Even our garden, our foraging in the hotel. No, I don't say it's dangerous, but you know, hippos, they are animals. So it's a dangerous animal, of course. But we have never any cases in of maybe the hippos attacking our clients so far. Yeah, so it's safe.
Conservationists say at least 400 calves have been born in the last 2 months. The hippos derive their name from the ancient Greek for river horse. They have wide opening mouths revealing large canine tusks, with the adults male weighing up to 1,500 kilograms and females weigh up to 1,300 kilograms. Despite its stocky shape and short legs, this mammal can run up to 13 kilometers per hour. Hippos live in water bodies, and when they step out, it is a sight worth your time. Despite the rising water levels at Lake Naivasha, we still have a reason to travel. We would come here at the Lake Naivasha and spot animals when they're swimming closer to the mainland, or even when they are basking. And besides that, you can enjoy the beautiful breeze that comes with the lake. The beauty of Lake Naivasha is more magical at night. You would play football while the hippos are grazing at a distance.
I'm not a pet person, to be honest, but I prefer animals staying in the wild. But it was quite beautiful, especially for those people in our company who got the time to see the hippos. At least someone from our company got to take a bunch of photos when the hippos were out of the lake. And that was an experience for most of us, because a lot of people think that hippos, they just live in water, right?
Dinner would traditionally be set on grounds overlooking the lake, an ideal destination for holidaying and business meetings. Irene Mchuma Udim, Magical Sense in Naivasha, the county of Nakuru.
Naivasha, you'll definitely agree with me. It's quite a beautiful holiday hotspot. The Geothermal Development Company is optimistic that one of the 3 independent power producers will start constructing power plants next month to generate 105 megawatts of electricity in phase 1 of the Menengai site. GDC Managing Director Jared Otieno says Sociana Energy is close to securing relevant documentation and funds which had delayed the power plant construction processes.
In 2015, the Geothermal Development Company awarded tenders to 3 independent power producers to put up power plants each generating 35 megawatts. However, years later, the 3 IPPs are yet to start construction of power plants in what is blamed on slow process of securing financial instruments and investments. GDC Managing Director Jared Otieno says Ocean Energy, one of the 3 firms, is in the final stages of acquiring letters of support, advance payment and financial guarantee from the government.
We are still now in the final stages of getting the letters of support and the partial risk guarantees that are supposed to be provided. Thereafter, upon us providing those, then we shall now push the independent power producers so that they can be able to reach financial close, and then they could go back to start construction.
Ocean Energy is expected to start construction of phase 1 of the Menengai power plant next month.
At the moment this hurdle is passed, then in about a month or so they should be able to start working. So my challenge and my concern now is to move towards enabling the IPPs to be provided with those financial instruments.
He says drilling of steam at Korosoi 1 and 2 geothermal sites in Baringo County are also set to be completed in 2 months.
We were able to also start on the Korosi prospect. When Korosi, the first well is already dug at almost 2.7 kilometers out of a target of 3 kilometers. We expect that maybe in the next 1 week or so, we should be able to meet the target for Korosi 1. Similarly, in January 16th this year, we already started Korosi 2.
GDC, which is in the process of signing a collaboration deal with Kajiado County Government, has started compensation and CR activities in Suswa in readiness to start geothermal exploration and drilling in the area.
Geothermal energy is coming into the feeder of Kajiado County as again a destination for geothermal resource development. We want to assure not only GDC but also investors, including those in geothermal, that they will not find a better environment to invest than in Kajiado.
The firm further says plans are underway to start geothermal exploration in Homa Hills in Homa Bay County that has the potential to add about 800 megawatts, as well as Mwana Nyamala at the coast. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Still on energy matters, and Kenya Energy Generating Company plans to commission the Olkaria 1 Unit 6 geothermal plant later this year. The unit is expected to inject 84 megawatts into the national grid as the country accelerates plans to generate 5,000 megawatts of clean energy in 4 years' time. KenGen Chief Rebecca Miano has said the company has so far drilled more than 310 wells to support Kenya's geothermal power strategy.
KenGen, which is Africa's largest geothermal producer, is developing more geothermal wells in the steam-rich Olkaria Basin in a bid to upscale the country's clean energy pool. In 2018, Kengen picked Japanese contractor Fuji and Marubeni Corporation to develop Unit 6. Olkaria 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 are currently producing power. Unit 1 to 6 will add another 83.3 megawatts to the output capacity of Olkaria 1, bringing the total output capacity of Olkaria 1 up to 274 megawatts. The Olkaria 1 geothermal power plant began producing electricity in 1981, making it the first geothermal power plant in Africa. It currently operates 5 turbines with a total capacity of about 185 megawatts, making it one of the largest geothermal power plants in Africa. Kengen Chief Rebecca Miano has said the procurement of the redevelopment of Olkaria 1 power plant, which seeks to increase the plant's installed capacity from the current 45 megawatts to 50 megawatts and extend its life by 25 years, is in its final stages. Kengen has reported the pre-tax profit jumped 8.3% in the financial year ended June 2020. The increase was driven by additional revenue contribution by the 165 megawatts Olkaria 5 geothermal power plant and proceeds from the ongoing geothermal drilling project in Ethiopia.
On financial matters, improving macroeconomic environment is expected to suppress the portfolio of non-performing loans in the banking sector in the medium term. Central Bank of Kenya says the portfolio of bad loans that currently stands at 14% of total gross loans is expected to drop as banks intensify efforts to recover bad debts. The spike in bad loans was occasioned by tough economic times due to the COVID-19 scourge.
In their first meeting of the year, the Monetary Policy Committee retained the commercial bank rate at 7%, saying the macroeconomic environment remains stable. The CBK has said the appetite of government securities and equities, including the demand for Kenyan investments, is still growing.
The dark days of 2020 and with the reopening of the economy, with the dynamism and the momentum that is being gained in those dynamic sectors, we expect that this will push us strongly into 2021.
The governor said part of this growth is attributed to banks' advisory to be prudent.
Those numbers are still manageable. Why are they still manageable? Because, as a matter of fact, banks have been doing what they needed to do, meaning they needed to be conservative and make provisions for their loans.
According to CBK, emergency measures put in place helped banks know and understand their customers better in a case-by-case basis. Further, the CBK reported that 2020 reserves stands at $7.7 billion, reflecting 4.76 months of imports, as current account evolution is expected to remain stable.
Given the developments that we are expecting in 2021, the current account evolution, etc., we expect that the foreign exchange market will remain as it was, meaning stable.
CBK says it expects modest growth in 2020, but a small recovery in 2021, driven by agriculture and manufacturing. Alan Naoko, Channel One Business.
Well, you're watching Business Insight. Our second break is coming up next. And thereafter, we'll be back with the interview of the day. We are looking at the circus industry and the challenges they're facing and how they're addressing these. The CEO is joining us right here. Stay right here.
The Kenya Defence Forces KDF is pleased to announce to the public the recruitment of General Service Officer GSO cadets, General Service Officer GSO cadets, undergraduate degree holders, specialist officers, general duty recruits, tradesmen and women, and Defence Forces constables, which is scheduled to take place in the month of February 2021. Remember, no one can influence the recruitment process. KDF recruitment is absolutely free to all. For more information, tune in to Radio Taifa on the 29th of January 2021, just immediately after the 7 p.m. news. Check out the local dailies. The Standard newspaper on the 31st of January 2021. MyGov inside the Star newspaper on the 22nd of January 2021. And the People's Daily on the 26th of January and the 5th of February.
Next on.
What's going on between you and...
It's none of your business.
I'm in charge of all the workers.
Then consider anything you suspect going on handled. Boss.
Kabla tuanze nionyesho kwa kulala. Leo siwezi pata gari.
Tuanzeni haraka ili uende.
Ndio nimesema nionyesho kwa kulala.
Pamoja utakojea kidogo. Ulikujaga huku kufanya nini?
I think it's about time for me to have kids of my own.
So do you like her or do you want kids?
Both.
What do you know about marriage?
All you do is follow dad around like a small puppy.
You think the world revolves around you, and that's your problem.
Siku yenye nitawahi sikia umemguza tena, ndio utaona. Utafanya nini? Mimi nitakumaliza. Uko unakuja kuniambia ujinga. Stop.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
Well, in the wake of a chaotic lending period, Kenyan SACCOs continue to report record transactions from numbers, even as commercial banks struggle with COVID-19 or breaking non-performing loans in their loan books. How has the SACCO, which not so long ago was in disarray, managed to stay sober in a highly uncertain period occasioned by the COVID-19 scourge? Tonight, our correspondent Alan Aoko answers from John Walker, the CEO of SACCO Society Regulatory Authority.
Hello and welcome to the interactive interview here on KBC Channel 1 Business Insight. My name is Alan Aoko. Today we are going to talk about matters SACCOs and especially regarding the regulatory space within the sector. And just to find out how the sector is panning on during this time, we are joined by Mr. John Mwaka, who is also the CEO of the SACCO Society's Regulatory Authority. This should be an interesting one because we are going to delve into the opportunities that surround this space. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you for having me tonight.
Karibu tena. Yes, just to hit off the bat, how is the sector as we speak today? What's happening?
The sector has been and continues to be very resilient, strong and very stable despite the shocks that we went through because of COVID-19. And despite the sort of beating that various sectors of the SACCO industry has had, we remain very optimistic that going into the future we will be strong. Just to give you some background information with regard to the industry itself is that we as a regulator, that is SACCO, Society's Regulatory Authority, in short form it's SASRA, we regulate just a segment of the SACCO sector. But from January 2021, we're going to regulate now additional 230 non-deposit taking SACCOs. That is going to increase the SACCOs that are under prudential regulation from 175 to slightly over 400. And so the work that we do as a regulator has increased, and we are hopeful that we should be able to raise the industry to the next level. Let me use an analogy where I want to compare SACCOs with a donkey. You see, donkey is an animal which is popular in our country, especially around Limuru, Lamu region, and other parts of our country. And the work they do is a very tough job. But as you drive from Naivasha all the way to Nairobi, you normally see a donkey being tied along the road and sort of scavenging some grass. But you can imagine the job they've been able to do to deliver water, to deliver, say, napier grass for the cows. But after they have done the job, it is just tied on the road where it feeds. Not much care seems to be taken on the donkey. But I can tell you, when that donkey is not there, when it is sick, it is when the owner realizes the importance of having the donkey. So in Kenya, you know, for a long time, SACCOs have not been viewed as very key players in our economic activity. But I can assure you, SACCOs are resilient, and their contribution in the socio-economic welfare of Kenya cannot be underrated. During the structural adjustment programs, if I may take you to the 80s and probably early 90s, when we went through very rough economic times as a country, SACCOs came in and they did a beautiful job by ensuring that they funded education, they funded what we call household consumption, and basically they smoothened the curve, the consumption in our country, economic activities. Now, during the COVID, I can assure you that SACCOs played a key role in, again, smoothening consumption in this country, because it is very easy for members of these SACCOs to access loans because the expectations or the requirements are not as stringent as other financial players in the same industry. And to give you proper perspective of the important role played by SACCOs, let me take you back when SACCOs created what we call now their quasi-banking, what we call FOSAs, in the early 90s. Specifically, the first FOSA was established in 1992. And remember, during that time, the commercial banks were not very good to the small savers. And in fact, most of us were closed out. And so they became very creative. SACCOs became very creative. And in fact, we want to appreciate teacher-based SACCOs for the role they played in establishing what we call front office savings activity, FOSA, and therefore quasi-banking within the SACCO industry. Because you see, the earnings of teachers and other civil servants during that time were very low. But the requirement was that you needed at least 5,000 shillings to open a bank account. Other banks were even asking 10,000 shillings. So SACCOs, of course, were able to create their own bank where they could be able to earn their salary. So government started now channeling salaries through some of the SACCOs. So Muhegia Teacher SACCO, which today is called Olin SACCO in Kirinyaga, was the very first one to do that. And the others, of course, followed suit. And therefore, we were able to help the public servants, so civil servants and teachers during that time, so that their salaries would not be derailed. They would not be able to miss their salaries at the end of the month because banks were not so much willing to have them process their salaries through the commercial banking system. And so that's where now we have SACCOs coming of age and now providing similar service to the commercial banking industry. And so we have become the alternative financial provider in this country. We know they are our competitors, the commercial banking system, together with microfinance. Those regulated and those that are not currently regulated. And so SACCOs are able to finance a cross-section of financial activities that are required to be financed in Kenya. Members are able to finance, of course, household consumption easily, because it's very easy. The model that SACCOs have adopted is a very interesting model where we have the members are the owners of the SACCO. They are the managers of that particular organization, and they are also the clients. So it is all inclusive within they make their decision. Therefore, being able to approach the chairman of the board of directors of SACCO is very easy. Being able to approach the CEO or the general manager becomes very easy. And so access to finance becomes quite easy and facilitated.
Are you seeing a point where SACCOs are the preferred point of getting credit for MSMEs, because many of them will now look at incubators or looking at private financing elsewhere from individuals? But how best can we make SACCOs attractive to these SMEs and MSMEs?
Alan, I can assure you that already SACCOs are very attractive to MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises in this country. And let me give you an example of the role that SACCOs play in that particular segment of MSMEs. In 2018-2019, we conducted a sectoral lending survey. We wanted to establish, that is SASRA, wanted to determine where SACCO loans that are, of course, accessed by members, how do they spend that loan that they get from their SACCOs? And the findings were very interesting, because we realized that 36% of the loans they get go to finance housing. So we are a big player in affordable housing in this country. And there is a separate report that has been written, prepared by World Bank, indicating 85% of all affordable housing constructed in our country, they are through loans given by SACCOs. And that is why, of course, now we are working very closely with the Central Bank of Kenya. We worked together with the government and Central Bank of Kenya to come up with Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, that is KMRC, which is owned by SACCOs together with commercial banking in this country. The other area, we found that the sectoral lending, actually the amount that is picked by the SACCO members where they spend that money, is the general trade. And is in general trade where we have SMEs. 20%, that translates to 67 billion Kenya shillings. In 2018-2019, the loans that were collected by SACCO members, about 4.5 million SACCO members, 67 billion was used to finance MSMEs. So you can see, again, the role that we are playing there. And again, SACCOs being socio-economic outfits, and it is within the law, that is the bylaws of SACCOs, that they should be concerned about the community. We realized during that survey, the findings were that 14% of the money that they accessed as loans in that year, 14%, which translated to 47 billion, went into financing social activities. And agriculture again took 21 billion. So in a nutshell, then we can say that majority of members of SACCOs in this country, they are also engaged in small enterprises. And they have got 2 to 3 employees they have employed once they access their loans from the SACCO. So we are a big player, and we are contributing towards financing of SMEs. And that's why we are working very hard, very closely and strategically together with the central bank and the government, national government for that matter, to ensure SACCOs continue playing this critical role in what we call SME space.
You know, taxes are also not very popular. There's no time you'll put a tax and someone will say, hooray, now tax has come, let's pay this tax. But of course, from where you sit, I'm sure you'll see people conforming to the norm. Moving on now, something that is also very simple yet difficult, let me throw it to you that way. What is the difference between a SACCO and a cooperative?
Fantastic. I was expecting that question, because I think there's been quite a bit of confusion out there. Yes. And there is a statement I normally like making, that all SACCOs are cooperatives, but not all cooperatives are SACCOs. Let's begin there. That all SACCOs, first and foremost, they are cooperatives, but not all cooperatives in Kenya are SACCOs. So we need to unpack and explain to our viewers and to Kenyan people that we must be able to differentiate between a normal farmers cooperative society that is in the business of selling coffee, or marketing tea, or marketing livestock, or marketing dairy products from a SACCO. A SACCO is an acronym of Savings and Credit Cooperative. So it's very clear, it's a savings and a credit. They are in the business of mobilizing savings and providing that saving that has been mobilized as loans to their members. Now, we do have two broad categories of cooperatives in Kenya. These two broad categories, we have what we call financial cooperatives, and then we have non-financial cooperatives, or what we call as agricultural or other non-financial cooperatives. So I would want to explain what financial cooperatives are and what non-financial cooperatives are. Now, financial cooperatives, again, can further be broken into three categories. We do have Savings and Credit Cooperative Society. Those are SACCOs. It's a type of a financial cooperative. We do have a housing cooperative. That is another type of a financial cooperative. Then finally, we have what we call investment cooperative. So these are the three subcategories of what we call financial cooperatives. But the most popular or the most known is the savings and the credit, which is called a SACCO. So that is very clear. It should be understood that way. Now, housing cooperatives, again, their membership is 100% derived from the SACCO. So you realize that members of a particular SACCO, say SACCO ABC. Now, then we have investment. There are those SACCOs that have come up with an investment wing. They might call it investment cooperative. It might help them to buy stocks or shares in listed companies. It might also go and invest in housing for that matter and so forth. Now, that is the three subcategories of financial cooperatives. Currently, it's only the SACCOs that are regulated using a prudential framework. And we are already working. We've already developed a paper where we're thinking of ensuring that these other two subcategories of housing and investment cooperatives are also under regulation, because they are dealing with intermediation of finances. That is mobilizing savings and then investing on behalf of their members. Let me talk about the non-financial cooperatives. Now, the non-financial cooperatives basically are involved in the marketing of products. Let me give you a very popular example that many Kenyans know about Fresher Milk. The owners of Fresher Milk is a cooperative called Githunguri Dairy Cooperative Society Limited. So Githunguri deals with dairy products. They ensure that they collect milk for their members and they facilitate marketing of the milk. And then the members are paid through a SACCO. Then we have fishing cooperatives in Nyanza and in Coast. Then we have livestock cooperatives, like a popular one called Yatabi2 around Machakos area. We have another one in that I know, which is very popular again in Tana River region, and many others. And even what we call wood carvings cooperatives. So these are different. And so they are not SACCOs, but Kenyans usually brand every cooperative as a SACCO, but that difference is there. Now, the other SACCO, the other industry that got into the SACCO industry is the matatu industry. The matatu industry is, of course, very dynamic and prolific in our country, and you'll see a lot of them with the name SACCO. But essentially, when they first came, they were to manage routes, to bring some semblance of order in the way they manage the routes that they have. That is why most of the matatus are named after the route that they operate in. Now, we are trying to streamline to ensure that, of course, the SACCO business within the matatu is also regulated. And so there's quite a bit of education that is being conducted right now by the concerned county governments, because we collaborate with the county governments to implement the law. Because remember again, cooperatives generally in the fourth schedule of the Constitution are a devolved function. But the business that they do of money. It is not, it's a national function. And so that collaboration is there. We work closely with the county governments, together with the ministry, our parent ministry, to ensure that the regulation of SACCOs that are conducting what we call SACCO business, of course, is also regulated, as it were. Currently, of course, it is the Commissioner for Cooperative who does the regulation of the SACCOs that are in the Matatu sector and the smaller SACCOs that are, have got their deposits less than 100 million deposits. So that is in the purview of the county governments and together with the Commissioner for Cooperative. So we do hope that the work that we are doing in conjunction with NTSA and the Commissioner for Cooperative will be able to bring all the SACCOs again on board under prudential regulatory framework.
What is the SACCO industry as we move into the next several months in this country?
Let me begin by saying where we are. Of course, stating where we are currently as a SACCO industry. Data that we have for December 2020 indicate that the asset base for the regulated SACCO stands as just slightly shy of 700 billion Kenya shillings. So we're talking about 620 billion Kenya shillings. And we do hope that this is again going to increase, because after every 4 years, about 3.5 years, we always double, the SACCOs always double their asset base. So
despite the disruptions we are feeling?
Despite the shocks that we go through, there could be other shocks other than just the COVID. There are other shocks, of course, that we do not anticipate, of course, like some weather vagaries that we are not in charge or control of, and other unforeseen economic shocks that may come. But over the last 10 years, we have seen the SACCOs are always doubling their asset base every 4 years. So we do expect that in the coming 3.5 years to 4 years, we will be talking about 1.3, 1.4 trillion in terms of the deposit-taking SACCOs, for that matter. Now, when we bring on board the additional non-deposit-taking SACCOs, of course, that is again going to go up. Again, in terms of deposits, we closed the year with about 560 billion loans that have been given to our members. Now, going forward, we expect the industry will continue being, of course, very stable and resilient, putting in place the necessary measures to ensure, first, there is good governance. Because everything, and that is basically leadership, and we expect SACCO leadership to be men and women of integrity. In the past, we have had a lot of questions raised about the integrity of the leadership that is in the SACCO industry. But as a regulator, I can report that we have seen a lot of improvement, and that is how we are going. And one of the things that, again, of course, has brought this about is the collaborations we do have with the training institution. We have an MOU with the Cooperative University of Kenya.
Well, there we have it. My name is Alan Aoko, and we have been speaking to Mr. John Mwaka, who is the CEO of SACCO Societies Regulatory Authority, just speaking about the SACCO industry and how we should look forward to what is good. And remember, you know, we are never victims of our own circumstances, especially during this time of COVID-19, which of course disrupted a lot of industries. Well, that's our time here on Business Insight. Of course, you can engage us and of course interact about the interview that you have just seen at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter and on Facebook. Mine is @aoko_76. See you soon.
Time for sports. AFC Leopards former patron Musalia Mudavadi has reiterated the need for commercialization of sports in the country if Kenya is to compete favorably with other countries. Mudavadi has also encouraged teams to learn to be self-sufficient as the relevant bodies pursue legislation to empower sportsmen and women in the country.
After an impressive start to the 2020-2021 FKF Premier League season, former AFC patron Musalia Mudavadi today took the chance to commend the team, urging them to help restore Ingwe's former glory.
Together with the Ministry of Sports and the relevant committees, can and indeed should start facilitating at least up to, say, the 3,000 fans or spectators in the stadia for each team, because then that will give you some reasonable amount which can at least pay maybe the allowances of the players at any one time, rather than this idea of keeping everybody out.
While hosting the team for a luncheon at a Nairobi hotel, Mudavadi vowed to aid the club achieve self-sufficiency, while also calling on relevant authorities to work on empowering Kenyan sportsmen and women.
We embarked on a journey when you came to see me at the MM Center, and we said that the land that was given to you, at that time you are looking for the stand premium of 600,000, which we fulfilled. And now there's some additional consequential expenditures which the Ministry of Lands requires, which come to about 700,000. I just want to tell you that by the time we reach the Harambee of 12th, we shall have settled the 700,000.
Leopards chairman Dan Shikanda, on his part, commended the team for a great start this season, despite numerous challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic.
I came in first as rescue. That time we were sincerely going to the grass. I thank Senator Sakaja. He really helped us that time. And we managed to escape relegation. Come elections, we were elected. And I thank some of the technocrats in AFC Leopards who changed our constitution to have 3 officials. I am sure if we had 10 officials in AFC Leopards by now, the club could not have been there as we speak.
I'm very proud of what you're doing. I was excited. Normally when we win, muringia watu sishikiki. Sezi shikwa. Last week na Sharks, I was so excited. It was 2-0, wasn't it? I was very excited that we defeated them. I sent Nick Mwendo a message and nikamwambia tulia bado. Utaona AFC is back.
Ingwe sits fourth on the standings after recording